Hey everybody, so reactionary review of Ready Player One. Literally just left the theater. Theater is just right behind me. So people were really excited to see what I thought about this. So first off, did I like the movie? No, it sucked. Okay, that's the end of the review. Now let's break this down a bit more. So what this movie is it's basically Gamergate. It's you can destroy the world, you can poison our oceans, you can enslave us, you can destroy everything, our culture, the family, you can make us live in trailer parks, but don't touch our video games. So long as you don't touch your video games, the rest of that stuff's okay. And like the evil corporate people in this movie, everything they did was okay, and then they took video games. And that was just too much. So you had a beta uprising, where all the beta males in their VR headsets joined forces in the last coalition of NEETs and wizards to take down the evil corporate guy. But I digress. So I think the most striking thing about this movie is it's like 90% just references to shit. There's like Tracer, there's the Iron Giant, there's a Dune reference, there's just references to absolutely everything you can imagine in this film. And that takes the place of really a plot or character development. It's just shoving in as much shit as possible. It's so dense, every frame just has so much going on. Except that's literally the case. It's literally just every scene in the movie is just shoving stuff in. And this is kind of one of the issues I had why I kind of left nerd culture, even though I still like a lot of nerdy stuff. Because I remember when I was in university and I kind of went into the game club and anime club, etc. And I just found people liked things, they were a fan of things, but they didn't really know anything about things, understand anything, and they weren't really interested in it beyond that. Like whenever I would talk about themes or something, or I try to analyze it, or I try to say like what lessons can we learn from this, in general they'd be like, whoa dude, it's just a movie, man. Whoa, I don't know, that stuff is really deep. And that was just kind of the attitude. Because really all it is, like most of nerd culture is just references to shit and consumerism. And that's kind of the irony of this movie, is it's all about my freedom, my video, the evil corporate guys are trying to take it away from us. But that's what nerd culture literally is. It's literally all about consumerism. It's about buying statues and stuff from Loot Crate, from Think Geek. It's about buying shitty retro video games, not actually playing them, or just pretending that you're cool and you're deep because you like Atari 2600. It's not about like even really knowing anything about this stuff. It's just about references, and that's what this movie was. It was just one big reference. So like I said, the irony is, who made all this stuff that they love so much? Who made like Overwatch? Who made Diablo? I'm just trying to think. Godzilla, Gundam. Who made all this stuff? Big companies, the biggest corporations on earth, made all this stuff. And yet we're supposed to like hate companies, we're supposed to hate corporations because they're evil and greedy. Well, at the same time, every frame of this movie is a celebration of the most crass consumerism possible. Like, there's no meaning to any of these. It's not an homage. It's not a joke even. Like, I like to think when I make a joke like Mild Concern or something, it's at least like relevant and it's like an attempt at humor. In this case, there's none of that. It's literally just, oh my god, there's the Iron Giant, there's Mechagodzilla, there's a Gundam. Let's just cram as many fucking references in this movie as possible in the most shallow, useless way we can think of. Now, on that topic, the main character drives a DeLorean. So I just have to say, if I had a choice between winning the Easter egg and controlling the Oasis and going back in time to prevent this movie from being made, fill up the DeLorean. So yeah, this movie was just, it's just such a, like I said, it's, you can rape you can rape the oceans, you can despoil the planet, you can take away our culture, you can destroy the nuclear family, but as soon as you touch our video games, no. And so they have like I said, they have the beta uprising of all the people. And it's like, at the beginning they're like, look, reality's shit, but we still have our video games. And people are probably going, well, Argent, you play video games, you stream them. Okay. So I do. I'm not pretending. I don't think I've ever pretended to be a super Chad, super, like, perfect at everything. I have a lot of flaws, and I have very low self-esteem. Given the fact that I'm suicidal the majority of the time, I think that should kind of speak for itself, that I freely acknowledge a lot of my issues. But at least I think you can say about me is I care about things other than just buying toys, video games, and making references to stuff. Like, you can think what you want about reactionary reviews, but I like to think I at least try to take some lessons or do something a little deeper. But there's nothing there. It's a hollow shell of a culture. It's like, at the end, I think it's St. Peter's, like the ultimate egg that gives him control of, like, that makes him the Jesus of video games, is in St. Peter's. And he literally worships the autist who made it, the literal autistic literal wizard who made the game, who is implied to kind of be a godlike figure. Like he worships this guy. He doesn't worship Jesus. He doesn't worship Allah. He doesn't even worship some random 8-armed Hindu god. He worships a guy who made a fucking VR game that he happens to really like because he can live out his shitty fantasies. And yeah. So, now that my rant's out of the way, let's actually get into analyzing this movie. Let's talk about the plot. So the year is, I think it's 2040. I wasn't really paying attention to the date. And the main guy, Wade, I'm sure he's named after Wade Wilson, aka Deadpool. So he lives in a trailer park. Columbus, Ohio is growing really quickly because it's the headquarters of the game company that makes Oasis. And Oasis is like this super VR game that everybody plays. Because you can even play it if you're a redneck with no money. And because people are so addicted to it, they've lost all perspective on reality. So, like, the polar ice caps have melted, there's rampant pollution, people live in giant piles of junk made out of trailers and used cars and in corrugated shacks and just nonsense like that. And that's just, like, people don't care because they have their video games. So apparently, like, what happens is in this shitty MMO, if you die, you lose everything. And the implication, like, from parts of this movie is the only form of legal tender is the coins you pick up in the Oasis. And, like, people are obsessed with gambling in them. Yeah, if you die, you lose everything, all your experience, all your money, all your upgrades. So people can play for, like, decades and then just lose everything if they die. Like, what kind of video game is that? Is this like the Dark Souls or something, to quote iDubbbz? It's like the Dark Souls. Well, that's a shitty video game. Why would I want to play that? Because sooner or later you're going to fuck up. Especially when a lot of people go to Doom World and play Deathmatch. Why would you want to play Deathmatch? in a game where you lose everything when you die, and all your money is basically real. So it didn't really make a lot of sense. So he lives, so his mother dies off screen, and people who tell me, yeah, so he lives in this shithole, which is like a trailer up on this giant pile of garbage. And he lives with his aunt, and his aunt is like a thought crack whore or something. And his mother and father are dead, and they die off screen. And someone who read the book told me that she was also a thought crack whore. And his aunt has a long line of abusive men, abusive drunkards. And like near the beginning of the game, near the beginning of the movie, her abusive alcoholic boyfriend takes all of their house money and uses it to buy power-ups in the game. And then they lose it all. So apparently, like, it's a common thing that people go into massive amounts of debt, like tens or hundreds of thousands of debt, to buy power-ups in the game. And even when they like spend all their money to buy shit in a game, where once again you lose everything when you die, because it's like the Dark Souls, they just keep spending money. And they borrow that money from, I think it's, what's it called? IOI? LOL? No. IOI? I don't even remember. It was some lame company. But this evil company that lends the people money and makes the VR gear that people go into debt for, they're the bad guys because they want people to pay the money back. And you can't expect people to have the agency to not spend all their money and go into massive debt playing a video game. You just can't. That's not responsible. That company has no right to get the money back. They're just evil and corporate. So they like force people into slavery, which is somehow legal. I don't know how it's legal, but they like kidnap you and force you into slavery if you don't make your late fees, which I'm pretty sure isn't legal in America, but it is now, because they're evil and corporate. So there's this fucking autist. I don't even remember his name, and I just watched this movie. There's this fucking autist who made the Oasis, and he's literally autistic. He's like, I made it because I couldn't relate to people in real life. And there's like a part where he almost had a girlfriend, and they were gonna go out to like dancing, but instead they watched The Shining, and she tried to kiss him and he didn't kiss her because he's a wizard. And that was like one of the regrets of his life. That, and he stole all his money from his best friend, which I don't even know how he had the agency to do that. So he made the Oasis, and people were like, maybe we should make more money off of this. He's like, no, I don't want to make money off of this. But within the game, he'll put this Easter egg in where if you collect 4 keys, then he'll appear in the form of 3 keys. He'll appear in the form of Gandalf, and he'll give you $500 million and total control over the Oasis. So, like, this evil company is using the people in debt to try to find the keys, because if they can find all the keys, then they'll be able to control the world. And their goal is to put ads, like so many ads on the screen that it'll just blur out. So they're just going to load it up with ads, and they're going to make even more money, of course. So that's the evil corporate plan. So this asshole Wade is obsessed with this autist. He knows like all of his favorite movies. Like, at one point he even goes, "This is 11th favorite horror movie." All the food he likes, how he takes his coffee, everything. And he spent the last 10 years of his life studying everything this autist did. And once again, people are like, well, Argent, you make all these videos about Star Wars and Game of Thrones, you spend your time doing that. Yeah, but I do other shit. I work for a living, I go to church, I read like history books, I actually have some friends. I mean, there's nothing wrong with knowing about this stuff. It's just his entire life was this fucking autist and the stuff he did. So he meets up with Athena, who's kind of looks like a cat person from Avatar, and he thinks she's really hot even though she's absolutely hideous. And he's in love, he falls in love with her because he's an autist, and he's like, I'm in love with you. And she's like, no, you'd be disappointed if you met me in real life. For all you know, I could be like a fat bubba living in someone's basement. But of course it turns out she's a hot redhead. But she has a secret. She has a red birthmark on her face, which in no way detracts from her hotness and is actually kind of cute. But no, she's a monster. People just stare at that and not at her boobs. That's just because that's how it works. If you have like a minor facial scar, then you're fucked. So she's part of the resistance. So there's like a scene where so Wade gets the first key. He's got the first key, and the evil corporate guy's like, fuck you, I'll give you $50 million if you give me the key. And he's like, no, because you're evil and corporate. And then he smoked a big cigar and spun his top hat. And then he blew up the guy's trailer and killed his abusive aunt and uncle. But then he got kidnapped by this biker dude, because he has like a trailer where he goes to watch hentai and to play Oasis. So yeah, so this big biker dude kidnaps him and takes him to the Resistance headquarters. And you have this awkward scene where it's like, welcome to the Resistance. And like I said, he sees the girl he's in love with, and he's like, well, you're really hot. Why were you so concerned about it? And then she's like, no, I'm not. I'm hideous. I have this kind of sexy facial birth defect. And so then they fall in love. And then he meets up with the rest of his clan. There's 5 of them, so they're called the High Five, which is kind of like the Fast Five, but with more hands. And one of them is a Dindu tranny. His best friend is a Dindu tranny, of course. And then there's like 2 random Japanese guys who know like kung fu and are a samurai and a ninja. And so they go through and they solve all the other challenges, which involve like literally picking through this autist's life for extremely minor details and like these obscure clues, because this dude is such a fucking narcissist. He's like DSP. You know what? That's who he is. The villain is, sorry, the autist is literally DSP. He recorded every minute of his life, every video game he ever played, every movie he ever watched. He like recorded himself watching them and put it up on YouTube to make some quality content. So like they watch him watching The Shining for like one of the keys. And then the last one, there's like this giant evil castle of evil. And they have to go and play like a shitty Atari 2600 game. And they have to like not play the game to win, but play the game to have fun. And when they do that, it unlocks it. And he becomes the true video game Jesus. And it's like, he's like, sign this thing and you get the Oasis and you get all this money. And there's like this button in the room that'll destroy the Oasis and free humanity from enslavement to this corporate nonsense. But he doesn't push it. He's like, I'm not going to sign this because you robbed your best friend. And he was like, you're right, your heart is pure. Then they go and they watch him play an Atari 2600 game. Excuse me. And they give him the egg. And then the Easter egg, get it? The egg of the perfect world. It's basically an apostle. It's one of the God hands. Oh my God, you're right. No, that's it. Because they're the God hand. And they use the egg of the perfect world, like in Berserk, to become, like, to bring about like convergence, and they merge the astral realm with the physical realm. And I don't know who's Griffith exactly, but he's gonna show, no, the last guy. Okay, so Wade is Griffith, and he's gonna become the leader of the Godhead with his army of apostles, and they're gonna merge the two worlds together. It's like when all this is happening, he somehow buys and shuts down the evil corporation, and he frees the slaves, like what Anakin should have done but didn't. So he frees the slaves. He's like, you're evil and corporate. I hope you feel sorry for yourself. And then the guy tries to shoot him, and then the police show up, because apparently there's still police in America. Like, there's a scene where he's walking towards the trailer, and all these people come out of their trailers and like, we know what you did. You put us here because we spent all our money and went into massive debt to buy power-ups in a video game. And he's like, no, you can't stop me, I have a gun. So despite this being America, no one shoots him. And it's like the shittiest scene ever because it's pointless. Like, they don't tackle him. Like, it would be super easy to tackle him. But, like, despite being this corporate mastermind, he's not able to, like, pay off the police. So the police arrest him because he was waving a gun around like a crazy person. So that was basically the movie. And then they decide, just randomly, going against the rest of the plot more or less, that they're going to close the Oasis on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because so he won't be distracted when he's sleeping with his red-headed waifu. And that was Ready Player One. It's a celebration of consumerist culture. It's this ironic need of nerds to see themselves as rebels and see themselves as the outsider, when they're literally the most mainstream thing possible. The only culture that's more powerful than them is African American culture, which is like dominant. But no, that's my reactionary review of Ready Player One. It's not a good movie. Don't see it. It's just one cringy reference and one horribly written line after another. I give this movie no one-ups. I give it a poison mushroom. So that's the review. Hope you enjoyed it.